And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball advantage. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. If you haven't downloaded that and you have a phone, you should. It's free, and you can watch and listen to our program daily in its entirety between 12 and 2 o'clock, and you can always go back and check us out if you happen to miss something as well. Also, jbandgoldwatershow.com. That's on the internet. And you can always check us out there as well. Across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. 843-321-8893 is our phone number. It is also our text line, and you can get a hold of us through that. You can also get a hold of us through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Pop in a note. Darren finds it. He puts it up here on the screen, just like Craig just did, and you become a part of our program, just like Raphael Esparza, Brendan Gulick, and Scott Glaze will all be today. Brendan Gulick's going to be an interesting conversation. For those of you that don't know him, he is with BuckeyesNowSI.com. So we've talked a lot about the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC. In our neck of the woods, one of the things we haven't discussed a bunch with somebody who might know a little bit is, what about the Big 10? Are they going to pursue some of these programs? What does Ohio State think about all this? So we're going to have kind of a different conversation at 105 today, but one I think certainly is noteworthy for college football itself. We've got our buy or sell today. This is week 3, I think, Darren, as we get towards college football season, where you and I kind of pick our over-under win totals. Two more SEC, 2 more ACC programs today. We're going to get to some Carolina football stuff in a minute. Sterling Sharp played yesterday in the golf tournament, and I want to talk about that, certainly. Got a lot on the Texas-Oklahoma stuff, a lot of trade deadline things to get to. Raphael Esparza will help us out with that as well. Darren's probably melting because of the Nationals. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty fun day around here. And I want to apologize for not being with y'all yesterday. Yesterday, I didn't have much of a voice left, and so Darren was kind enough to say, "Okay, you know what? Forget it. I can't hear today out of my right ear. I have an ear infection that came on last night, and I literally can't hear anything." And it was Darren, I've been awake since 2:30 this morning. So it's been a long day, dude. This virus that I caught, it's not coronavirus, has been it's been pretty crappy all week long.
Well,
I can't hear. I literally can't hear anything. I can hear this side.
That's awful. I mean, I'm sorry for laughing. It's just, I appreciate someone else's misery, because I'm not sure who's in more pain. I mean, you're sick, couldn't do the show yesterday, you can't hear. My team's never going to win again, ever.
Well,
it's over. I feel so. The World Series of 2019. This is like growing up a Pirates fan. I've said this many times, right? That's how I grew up, and then got a National League team in DC, and it was very easy to say, all right, I am now all aboard. But this is sort of what 12 and 13-year-old Darren felt like when the Pirates were building with Bonilla and Bonds and Van Slyke and Drabek, and then bit by bit it was just gone and gone and gone. And now you get a World Series, and I expected Scherzer to go. I said right here many times, just not Trey. And my God, it wasn't just Trey, and they're not done yet. So hopefully these prospects they're getting in return are as good as everyone says, but we'll see.
It certainly looks like the guys are getting from the Dodgers can play. I don't know much about the other ones. I don't really know much about any of them, but those that I've seen that are most highly regarded are coming out of the LA farm system. The trade deadline, this is as happening of a deadline as I think we've had in a while. Both Boston and New York are making their moves. It's, and there's probably today's the deadline. I think, what are we, 4.5 hours away? 4 hours.
4
o'clock.
4 hours.
Okay. So, and then I know at 2 o'clock when we go off the air, I think ESPN has a special trade deadline show for those that may be interested in checking that out. I know MLB Network's doing a bunch as well, but I don't think the fireworks are done, Darren. I think there's going to be another blockbuster before the next 4 hours is up.
We'll see. We'll see if Bryant is finally landing somewhere. We'll see. The Nationals, like I said, they're not done. There's not going to be anything that tops what happened yesterday.
No.
You're not topping Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. No. The Nationals, interestingly enough, here's a fun fact. I love it. The first team ever to trade team ever to trade 3 All-Stars mid-season, same year.
Oh, well, there's a first for everything. So maybe they'll be back in the World Series in the next 10 years or so. I don't know.
At least they got the 2019 run. I'm okay with that, right? I mean, got the title, got the memories. Now we'll see
that's what's amazing about this sport. It's so incredible how you can win a World Series and a year and a half later not even You don't even recognize anybody's name anymore.
I went back. I looked at the box score from Game 7 of the World Series in 2019. Yeah, another good example. Game 7, 2019 World Series. Juan Soto is still on the team. Yan Gomes is still on the team currently. It's about it. Victor Robles, who was losing his job towards the end of the year. Other than that, they're gone. That whole team is gone.
See what the Braves do. If they've got another move in them, maybe they're in the market for Craig Kimbrell. Who knows? His name's certainly floating around out there. Boston, maybe again for Craig Kimbrell. Maybe out west. Who knows? We always start Friday afternoon, though, with our 2-minute drill. And this Friday is no different. Texas, Oklahoma, they're official. More on that in a minute. They have accepted their bids, and the SEC has accepted them, and everybody's going to throw a big party. Welcome to where it just means more, my Big 12 friends. We'll see if they're in the league before 2025. Training camp in the NFL is underway. Not a lot of information coming out yet, except for Aaron Rodgers, obviously. That's been all over the news the last 48 hours or so. But over the next week to 10 days, there probably will be more news. There always is when training camp just starts. High school football practice also is officially underway here in the state of South Carolina. The Skeeza boys got on the field yesterday. The high school league got on there today. Keep an eye out for some news and notes on that in the coming days. David Shelton will be starting back with us soon for high school football. The Olympics count 41-40. The U.S. leads China by 1 at this point in time. Some notes, though. The soccer team, the women, 4-2 in PKs earlier today over the Netherlands. Congratulations, ladies. They've got Canada coming up in the medal round. In women's hoops, Asia Wilson, another double-double, 20 points, 10 boards. U.S. beats Japan 86-69. They've got France coming up on August the 2nd in their final prelim game. And Raven Saunders, Charleston's own, Burke High School's own, is in the finals in the shot put in Tokyo. Really looking forward to seeing what she's got to do. Maybe she can win a medal. Maybe she can win a gold medal. She finished 5th in Rio 5 years ago. That distance, by the way, to get her into the finals, 19.22 meters. That is third longest currently in the Olympics. And, of course, the trade deadline is ongoing, and we're going to talk more about that in just a little bit. And that is our 2-minute drill, 12:10 on this Friday afternoon to get you into the swing of things and take you into the weekend. Real quick on the trade deadline front before we get to some football and get into some Gamecock stuff here. Kyle Schwarber headed to Boston. We just mentioned a minute ago, Boston making a big move. That's one of Darren's boys, new boys to Washington, but he didn't stick around very long. He's going to take his 25 home runs and head to Beantown in pursuit of another World Series up there. The Red Sox, they're serious about this thing. Nobody gave him a chance.
Because he's not healthy.
He's not healthy.
We don't know when he's going to be healthy. Interesting move.
I saw a report today that said that there's that he could be back within a week to 10 days. Is that not true?
He's jogging. He's working out, but there hasn't been anything strenuous with him yet. I'm sure they wouldn't have pulled the trigger. They gave the Nats a low-A guy who's on fire, an arm who's on fire right now. They probably wouldn't have pulled the trigger if they didn't think so. And, you know, it's a nice home run hitter park, but there's a lot of unknowns. June was awesome. It's been a long time since.
Darren already mentioned it. Scherzer and Turner to L.A. for 4 prospects. They also, the Nationals did send right-handed relief pitcher Daniel Hudson out west to the San Diego Padres. Now, he's also been on the shelf. I think he had some COVID stuff going on actually for a while. But Daniel Hudson has moved. The Yankees have added big bats in Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo. That's a combined 39 home runs this year between those two. Neither one of them are having the year they'd like to have from an average standpoint, but this is certainly beef to the Yankees lineup. They need a everyday first baseman, and they just acquired one, and Anthony Rizzo. And Gallo, by the way, he can play there as well. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the trade. I didn't miss anything, right? Any other big names thus far?
Brad Hand, who led the league in saves last year and was an offseason addition to Nationals, he was traded as well to the Blue Jays. Hudson was the better of the two this year by far in the back end of that bullpen, but it's a good arm. I mean, there's those two were the two valuable bullpen arms, and they both got moved.
Yeah, Brad Hand. Yeah. shell of them former selves are the Washington Nationals. So Texas and Oklahoma as official. Some interesting notes coming out here, Darren. I'm sure you're seeing them. That Oklahoma actually did some investigating, if you would like to call it that, as to whether they could find a way to squeeze Oklahoma State into this deal and have them come to the SEC as well. But basically, without saying it this way, Joe Castiglione, the AD at Oklahoma, and the rest of the leadership there, including the president, have said, yeah, we were much more interested in moving with Texas than we were with Oklahoma State. And they don't really have to say that. It's the move that was made. If they didn't want to make it without Oklahoma State, then they wouldn't have made it. But they also expressed much desire and interest to continue that rivalry in every sport long past their exit from the Big 12 and into the SEC. I hope that happens. Bedlam's a great series, and it needs to continue. Outside of that, there's not a lot of news out there, Darren. It's now more along the lines of some of the same discussions we've been having. When is it actually going to happen? Everybody is saying that it's 2025. Is that true? I still don't believe it. I happen to believe it wasn't Dennis Dodd. It was somebody else from CBS last night who tweeted, "No, it'll be 2022. They'll find a way to facilitate this thing so they don't have to go through the Big 12 for another year. They're already going to have a tough time this year, boys and girls. Wait till you see some of these road games that Oklahoma and Texas have to play in. You think the 15-yard penalty is going to be a big deal for horns down? Holy moly. Maybe that's a reason why they said they were going to enforce something like that this year, because it's going to be coming out a lot. But I have a feeling it'll be implemented a little sooner than later. And then what does it look like in the SEC? Is it the pods? Is it the divisions? How are you going to create a conference championship game? Those conversations are being had publicly. I have a hunch, Darren, the league probably knows exactly what they want to do.
They know what they want, right? I mean, again, none of this has come up as a surprise to those in the league and to those in the know. So they know what they want. It's just a matter of really ironing out all of the kinks here. And if they're done, there are certainly a bunch of conflicting ideas out there as to whether or not the SEC is done and what other leagues will do to combat what the SEC is doing. The cease and desist letter is pointless. It was a Hail Mary. That's basically what it was. That was ESPN's response. And I thought something maybe the most interesting thing over the last couple of days was this USA Today report that basically said, as it is right now, if they don't expand further beyond Texas and Oklahoma, the SEC within a couple of years could be making right about as much as the NCAA itself is making. And then Ross Dellinger tweets this: 7 of the 10 athletic budgets, top athletic budgets in the country, they're going to be in the SEC, right? That's why it leads me to believe they're not done expanding, because more people will want in. And that's why I think this chain reaction has just started and we're not close to the end.
There's exactly. I mean, you could look at this from a wide lens or multiple angles, I guess we should say. I have a hunch that they might be done for now. It doesn't mean that they won't be done in the future or anything like that. The other question that I have is, even though this is my personal belief that they will try to get Oklahoma and Texas in as quickly as possible, I mean, like next year, quick, there might be a different angle to that would probably be less beneficial in the short term to both Oklahoma and Texas, but more beneficial in the long term to both of them by virtue of playing in the league. And that is, are they maybe going to consider taking another strong look at the college football playoff scenario here? I think Bob Bowlesby, I'm speculating here. I think Bob Bowlesby certainly feels like he's been wronged a little bit by a lot of people. If he doesn't feel that way, he's playing a pretty good game of poker publicly. I'm not sure what his relationship is with Greg Sankey. Don't know that Greg Sankey cares a whole lot at this point in time, but he might. So, but then there are other leagues out there, Darren. Like, if you've got, we're going to talk to Brendan Gulick coming up at 105 with Ohio State, and in the Big Ten. If the Big Ten is planning to try to add some of these teams, or Notre Dame, or the AAC, reports out there that the AAC wants to pluck a bunch of these teams or programs, I should say, and plug them into their league. Do these leagues and their interests feel like there needs to be a restructuring of the college football playoff system if they're going to go out and restructure themselves? The leagues is what I'm talking about here. So, if there will be movement there, maybe it doesn't go all the way to 12. Maybe it shrinks to 8. Maybe it goes more to 16. I don't know. Then there might be some pause on plugging in Oklahoma and Texas as soon as possible, because TV contracts and some of that money that could help buy them out of their current deals, I'm talking about Oklahoma and Texas, would actually come back to them via TV contracts. And where would that money come back to? Say ESPN from the college football playoff. So there's probably a lot of negotiating to happen still out there, and what is best to get all this kind of done at the same time, Darren. But, if they say, hey, nope, 12 teams is it, that's what we're going with, then I think Oklahoma and Texas will probably be in sooner than later.
Yeah, it's just, it's a marriage, right? You told the girl today, it's not you, it's me. Both of these schools did. And now we're going to hang out until 2025, right? We're going to stay together for 2025 and share our money through 2025, even though I just told you I don't want you and I'm leaving for that one over there, the hotter one.
Right.
It will not go until 2025. It's a 2023 thing, if not a 2022 thing. And that's the reason why. You said it. This year alone for the Big 12 is going to be brutal. It will be a constant storyline. It'll be a constant dragging through the mud. Whatever happens with realignment, it'll be a constant negative publicity for the Big 12 and about Texas and Oklahoma leaving. The league can't allow it to go on, and Texas and Oklahoma will benefit, and so will the SEC if they get out sooner rather than later. So I'm with you. I'm a 2022 believer, and at worst, a 2023.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm absolutely. I totally agree. And Bob Bowlesby, I think, is making a strong stand for the Big 12, probably for a couple of different reasons. But one might be, hey, if I show strength, maybe there's a chance at a merger where we can come out winning in this thing. Maybe there's a chance at even adding some teams. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't think that's very likely that the Big 12 rebuilds themselves. They've lost their two biggest brands. But, as the commissioner of the league, maybe he thinks if I show strength on this, I have a better chance of succeeding at whatever we do instead of just dissolving and we're all gone. The ESPN situation is certainly interesting. If you're going to come out and throw a haymaker at the worldwide leader in sports like that, I hope you got something to back it up. I don't have any reason to believe one way or another. I don't know. I have no idea. If ESPN was, facilitating, commingling, whatever you want to call it, behind the scenes, and you know what, they should probably be exposed for this and held accountable. And maybe you can't do a ton to them, but maybe there's a way to string something out where they lose out on a TV contract or something. I have no idea what everybody's intentions are here, Darren. And it's hard to speculate because they change every day. The new information comes out every day, and we're like, holy moly, what is going on here? So when we wake up Monday morning, what are we going to know? I think we'll know more than what we know now, and I think there will be probably another piece of information that's floating around out there that says what we thought Friday might not be true.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anything behind what Bowlesby is saying. I mean, the cease and desist letter, when he first put it out, I got a couple of different texts, and my response to all of them was basically the same thing. Don't tell me that all of the parties involved did this and don't have it completely buttoned up. Yeah. Don't already know that you can't come at them this way. That's why this isn't a lawsuit. It's a cease and desist, and ESPN said you can take that and go put it wherever you'd like to go put it. There's no way the Big 12 can stop this. That's just not that I see, and I'm no legal expert, but there's no way that's happening. There's too much money involved. there's too much hurt feelings involved already. There are too many moving parts that we don't know about already involved and moving around the country. There's no way this is being stopped. It's just a matter of when.
I agree. I agree with you, Darren. Steven's question, what do you think the ACC will do? They will have to follow the SEC's lead and add teams, right? I would think so. I'd think so, but so there just a little while ago, I saw an interesting tweet that Florida State's president was actually asked about some of this, and he said that basically we're very comfortable with the ACC, but us, like Clemson, are brand names, and we need to be prepared for whatever is to come. I'm kind of paraphrasing and summarizing his comments, but that is what he said. So is that a sneak peek? Is that a precursor? Is that something of like wink, wink? Hey, we've been contacted. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not really going to speculate on that. But what I did get out of that is hey, we like being here. We probably feel like we need to strengthen our league. But if we don't, or if we don't feel like the league's intentions are that of or similar to what the Southeastern Conference is doing, if somebody knocks on our door, maybe we'll be a package deal like the Tigers, and we'll listen to somebody, whether it's the SEC or the Big Ten or whomever it may be.
And I'll take us right back to this. This is where it all leads right back to, right? It's the money thing. And yeah, I've said it all week. It's been a week now since we started hearing about this, maybe even a week and a day. And I've said it from the very beginning. If the ACC is not going to do something to match this, they will fall farther and farther behind. And if the ACC does not do something to match this, or if Clemson, you can throw Florida State into that, believes that the ACC will not be doing enough, then they have to make a move in order to stay in the competitive balance. That's what it is. In order to stay there long term, you've got to make a move. That the comment from the ACC president Florida State's does not surprise me, because it wouldn't shock me. And I don't know this, but if I'm the SEC and I'm putting together this massive league that I'm clearly putting together, even if you're done at just Texas and Oklahoma, if I'm Greg Sankey, I'd probably make a couple more calls, right? I mean, you got to at least ask Notre Dame, got to at least ask Clemson. If you're going that far, you got to at least ask Ohio State and Michigan. What's the end game here? If that's what's happening, don't be surprised at all if leagues lose power programs. And if the ACC is not responding, don't be surprised to see Florida State and Clemson go.
Yeah. And I think too, and to kind of pull this in to the conversation, and I've got this in my notes here, and I just saw this from Kirk Herbstreit. He said, I want to make this part of the conversation here. Quote, I hate losing the tradition of the sport. I've always been, I guess, naive to it. I've tried to be the guy who thinks people care about tradition and rivalries. Clearly, the decision makers don't. It's an arms race, and it's about the money. And I think that he actually makes a lot of really great points there. That last line is what's most important. It's what you just said. It is an arms race, and it is about the money. I think it's also important to remember this sport has evolved a lot over the last 100 years. South Carolina used to be a part of the Southern Conference. There was a time when they were in the SoCon, and Georgia Tech was in the SoCon. All these programs.
Clemson too.
And exactly, and then they were a part of the ACC. Things happen, things change. In 100 years, this is going to be in the history books. This isn't going to be dinner table conversation anymore. In 10 years, it really won't be, for that matter. But to the first part of Herbstreit's point, which is a point I was actually going to make as well, I do want to make sure that the fans are protected as much as they can be. Like, this sport is about the fans. And Darren, we all know this. What I'm about to say is 1,000% true, and we all know this. The only reason that TV contracts are so valuable are because of the fans. The fans made college football popular, period. I mean, and so if you didn't have the fans, if you didn't have, the people who work their ass off 40, 50 hours a week and then pay into their the Ipte Club or the Gamecock Club or whatever and buy season tickets and go spend $100,000 in their life to get an education from these schools that are invested in it and stuff like that. If you don't have them, I don't know in the long run what you have. You'll always have the sport, but will it be what we've known it to be, what has allowed it to get here? So are you going to lose some rivalries here and there? Probably. But are you going to gain some back? Yeah, I mean, the Texas move, they get A&M back, they get Arkansas back. Those are two old Southwestern Conference rivalries. So there's some give and take in all of this, and I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all conversation that needs to be had at all. I think we should all understand that sometimes change is inevitable, even if it's not necessary. But I hope that the fans don't get left behind in all of this, Darren. I really don't want to see things like, North Carolina and Duke one day not be playing each other for some reason. That would be a travesty.
Things like that, the longest standing rivalries, they'll find a way to keep that going. Oklahoma mentioned it in their Board of Regents today. I think it was the president, but I'm not certain, saying he wants to keep up that battle with Oklahoma State, even if they're not in the Big 12. We'll see if that happens. Ohio State and Michigan, that's going to happen. I don't see a way that Clemson and South Carolina somehow goes away. Florida State, Florida, the major ones, I just don't see a way that they disappear. But the unfortunate reality here, what you're saying is true, right? You don't want to forget the fans. And they did make this as big as it is. There's no question about that. But they're going to still be there. The game is changing, but you're getting a constant cycle of new fans. Every year, you're getting more and more students and more athletes in and out of all of these places. The fans are constantly coming through. So if you're an older fan, and you can put us in that, you can put the generation behind us and behind that in that group, this is going to be a sense of you can either get on board and just keep rooting and enjoying this product, even though it's going to be different, or not, right? And that's the position we're in. That's the position I feel like we're in. You can get on board, but if you don't, you're going to get left behind. And it's an unfortunate reaction, I guess, or result of what's happening.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, if it gets to the extreme levels, I think it would be pretty bad. I mean, I would just give a first hand scenario here that, let's say they came out with some all new league where the top 30 or top 24, I think I saw JC Sherbert actually talking about this yesterday on the Big Spur message boards, the top 24 locks to be in a 32 team super conference, and like South Carolina wasn't in there, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and all this, that, and the other. Like that's when somebody like me would say, I'm just done, with college athletics. I quit. I don't care about it anymore. Keep my money and invest in my kids' future or something. And I'd be done with it. And I would hate that because my family has been in the Gamecock Club for 55 years. Mm-hmm. We've given, by virtue of that, you do the math on how much money. So, and we're not the only ones. I mean, we're probably a small percentage of much bigger than that. So, but that's an extreme measure. And I don't think something like the SEC, Greg Sankey is not stupid. And he's not going to create some league that leaves anybody that is underneath his umbrella right now out. That won't happen. The other thing, though, I want to get to this. I know we got to get to Raphael Esparza. And I tell you what, Darren, we can just blow through the break and just go right to him if you want. But I want to get to this part too. I saw Don's comment, which is an interesting comment, because he says, I just hope that the SEC doesn't take the lazy way out and keep two divisions. That could be crushing for programs like Carolina. So I think what this really comes down to is scheduling. And right now you have hit or miss in scheduling anyways, based on two things. One, teams that rotate on and off of your schedule. And two, are those teams any good or not? That's how it works, right? So The SEC this morning proposal, you've put it up there on the screen. It's got the pod system. We've kind of seen this. It would have a 9-game conference scheduling format. You played the 3 in your pod, and then you play 2 from each other pod, and then basically you've hosted every team at least once every 4 years, which I think is a wonderful model. So I think what's important about this is that we don't get too caught up necessarily in what the divisions look like. It's more along the lines of scheduling. That's what it comes down to. Because if you had pods, guess what? You still have to have 2 teams playing a conference championship game. So do you just take the 2 best records? If you're watching, you split left screen west, right screen east, and say these 2 pods are combined east, these 2 pods are combined west, and the best team out of each plays in the championship game or whatever. So it comes down to scheduling. On that note, adding Texas and Oklahoma on the surface, everybody says, oh my God, teams like South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri, it's impossible. It might be. I don't know. I have no idea what the future is going to hold, but here's what I do know. We don't know what's going to happen from year to year, ever. Like, we never know what's going to happen. 15 years ago, before Nick Saban showed up, Alabama was a dumpster fire. And when Nick Saban leaves one day, they might be a dumpster fire again. We don't know if they will or won't be. I have no clue. Texas hasn't been anything that says, oh my God, we got to play Texas. I'm not trying to be disrespectful of a tradition-rich, wonderful program, Darren. That's not what I'm saying here. But, like, number one, we don't know when these teams are going to rotate on and off schedules. We have no idea. We don't know how good they're going to be in the years in which they play. You have the transfer portal now. It's a lot different from when it was, well, we just have to keep recruiting and hopefully, get these guys going in 2, 3, 4 years. And I'm not saying that Don's wrong. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that tomorrow is not guaranteed to be the same as today. And so 1 or 2 years in this league, there's no guarantee that any of this is even going to be the same that it is now. Lincoln Riley might leave for the NFL, and then Oklahoma falls flat on their face. I mean, Ed Orgeron might get fired because they've been paying players at LSU, and LSU starts sucking next week. Arkansas back in 2007 won like 11 games, guys. I mean, these things can happen. And Carolina won 11 games 3 straight years. Who the hell saw that coming? They didn't stay on top of it, but they did. So I don't get too caught up in this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. There's more roadblocks there, but it really comes down to just the scheduling format. And who knows how good these teams are going to be year in and year out.
Yeah, I completely agree. It looks bad. It looks tough, but it depends on the schedule. I think it was the way JC said it, right? It's just a fact of life. When you've got a 16 team or 18 or 20 team conference, whether or not you add Texas and Oklahoma, it's still just a matter of how tough your schedule is going to be that given year and who's up and who's down. And if you're up and if you're down, whichever team that you're rooting for. When it comes to getting left out, it was a fear of mine when I first heard of this like a week ago. I even brought it up on here, like what if, right? It's not so much a fear of mine now. I don't think it's a 32-team cutoff. I think the cutoff is higher, but I do think we see that. I do think sooner than later we see a group, if it's a Power 5 or 4 conference, break away, and they're their own entity with scheduling and postseason and all that stuff. And then let's say the group of 5 as it is right now, they figure out what they're going to do. I do think that's going to happen. I think the playoffs will get worked out as that happens.
Yeah, it certainly could be that. I just we'll go ahead and bring Raphael Esparza in here with mybookie.ag, but I just think that at the end of the day, divisions, pods, whatever you want to say with all this, it really comes down to scheduling concepts, Darren. That's what it comes down to, man. And you can't right now. We can guarantee that Alabama's going to be great every single year. That's pretty much a guarantee. But that could change in a year or two. And then all of a sudden Alabama rotates on your schedule in 2025 and Nick Saban is retired and everybody's transferred out of the program and they've hired Raphael Esparza to coach them and they go out and win 4 games. They're not the Alabama that they were before. So, I mean, LSU sucked last year. Did anybody see him in 2019? Everybody thought, oh my God, LSU is the greatest thing ever. Is LSU in the new Alabama? Sure as hell weren't last year. So, it's pretty cyclical. This guy, he's not cyclical. He's the same every week. Just steady, steady, steady. What's up, man?
First of all, LSU, no one was talking LSU as a dynasty to the next level. They had one good year because of the quarterback. That was it. They didn't have a great defense. They didn't have a great offensive line or wide receivers. It was the quarterback that won the games. It had nothing to do with a new dynasty. So don't throw LSU. But I totally agree. If you're an LSU fan, you need to be biting your nails because Coach O can be probably fired anytime. It would not shock me if I refresh my computer screen and another allegation from LSU comes up, and he's on my couch watching college football. I'm sorry, NFL AAA on my couch on Saturday.
MyBookie.ag is where you can follow along with all the betting stuff. Raphael Esparza on Twitter at VSI Doc Sports. You better be careful, pal. You're down in Nollins right now. They will find you. You've been around this fan base before, right?
I've been busting balls with my neighbors since I moved here, and it's hard because they have no comeback. They have no. Just like I tell, Oklahoma and Texas is coming. Oh, so we just see Alabama beat two more different teams. That's all we're gonna see. So no, unless something else can happen, unless LSU, Auburn, and some of the other teams can win back-to-back national champions and stuff like that, then I'll say, SEC is greater than sliced bread. But I'm sorry. It's still going to be Alabama.
Until Saban's gone, Raphael. I mean, you remember the 90s. Alabama, they didn't know what their future looked like. They were falling apart down there.
Well, I agree on that, but I'm just saying I don't look that far in the past because who would have thought we would be in a pandemic still in 2 years and stuff like that? So I kind of look at just present and present only. So right now, Alabama's the best team. Next year, Alabama's the best team. Year after that, Alabama is the best team.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't know that anybody can really disagree with that until again, Nick Saban's not coaching there. But the way he looks, he might be there forever. I don't know. What do you think happens with the Big 12, Raphael?
I think I said this on your show before. Unless they can land two, I don't want to say big names like a Central Florida or Cincinnati or something like that, then I think they'll stick around. If not, I think everyone jumps ship and maybe we're only down to a Power 4 or maybe another conference swoops in and adds to the Power 5. I think if you're the Big 12, you're in trouble because I think other teams are already looking around. You already see Iowa State looking around, West Virginia looking around. So I think the Big 12 right now is in trouble. It would not shock me if they go bye-bye. But, Boise State, they're probably going to start looking around now because they think, hey, maybe they can go to the Big 12 if they want to keep their name relevant or go somewhere else. I think the Pac-12 is probably going to benefit the most, and maybe the Big 10 out of if the Big 12 blows up.
So there's been some word again. I just don't put a ton of stock into a lot of what we're seeing anymore until we get things like we got today that are more official. But there's been some stuff floating around out there that the Big 12 could basically all of their teams could be adopted essentially by the AAC. That's basically a merger is what it would be, but not really. If you get what I'm saying here. So why would that go under the AAC? Why would the Big 12 not say, hey, look, why don't we just merge?
I don't know. Since they're getting adopted, maybe they get better health insurance. I don't know. That's probably way above my pay grade for that. But yeah, I would think merger will probably be better. I don't think there's a whole conference will go to another conference. I think for the Big 12, maybe 4 of them go here, 4 of them go there, and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to see one big giant merger. I would be shocked if one big other conference just, we'll use the word adopt again. Does that mean the AAC needs a station wagon or a minivan after that adoption? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that question. What about something as far-fetched as the Big 10 reaching out to the remaining programs in the Big 12 and saying, why don't we merge?
It'd be the Pac-12.
Yeah, like I said,
nobody wants the Big 12 teams. That's the biggest problem the Big 12 teams have right now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants them.
Yeah, I think the Big 10, maybe they might want to grab maybe a couple of them to try to get maybe the Texas market for recruiting wise. They got the East Coast already. But if I'm the Big 10, hey, I call the Pac-12 and say, hey, why don't we merge, or why don't we do something? Because now if you're the Big Ten, you get all that West Coast recruiting, and the Pac-12 gets all that Midwest and East Coast recruiting. Now you have two of the bigger markets of the Midwest and Chicagoland area and the LA areas. And then you got Rutgers and Maryland in that area. I think if there's any kind of a merger that would be smart, I think it's the Big Ten and the Pac-12 because they conquer the whole state. I mean, the SEC is only knocking on next door to Texas and Oklahoma, where those two would be worldwide. It'd be like globally brand.
On Twitter at VSI.Sports, Raphael Esparza with MyBookie.ag. Should the Big 12 be big? We keep calling them the Big 12. What are we going to call them? Let's call them something else. The Big.
Extinct.
Redheaded stepchild 12?
Dinosaur.
Yeah, the dinosaur.
VHS.
Should they? Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm with you on that. Should they be in a hurry to do this? I mean, let me throw out a scenario. What if Iowa State goes 11-1 this year? Is somebody not going, that looks nice. We'd like to have Iowa State. We'd like to have whomever. What if West Virginia wins 10 games this year? I mean, should they utilize this time to create value, or could that backfire? I guess it could.
I think both. I mean, if you're one of those teams that maybe under the radar and all of a sudden you're 7-0 or bowl going to a bowl game, which you probably weren't supposed to, then I think you maybe pick up the phone call and call the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or stuff like that. Yeah, and we're in totally different ball games right now, and not just because of what Oklahoma and Texas. In general, the NFL AAA is in a totally different aspect because now you have the NIL. You have kids who are going to forego high school to start getting paid now. You have the transfer portal. This is killing. I mean, I just don't understand why people don't talk about it. College football is dead. It's completely dead. It's NFL, AAA. Because like I say, all three of those entities, I mean, the NIL, the portal, and now throw in Oklahoma and Texas going to SEC. I mean, how could this be fun if you're a college football fan? I don't understand if you're like an Iowa State fan, Northwestern, Rutgers. How could you say, I love college football Saturdays?
Darren and I had just a similar conversation 20 minutes ago. I said, I hope that the future of this sport doesn't leave the fans behind. And, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with a guy I know, a former Clemson football player he told me, he said, I'm totally disinterested. He played football at Clemson for 4 years. And he said, I am totally disinterested in this sport now and in the future of college football. He thinks that all the changes are too much. It's ruined it. This is a guy, again, who played football at Clemson, and he doesn't care about it.
Remember a couple months ago, let's see, across the pond, a league called soccer tried to do this, and the fans upward, and it backfired on them. So, I mean, we're here in America. Ooh, more football. Let's say they play NFL AAA now in July. Yay. No, it's just going to I can guarantee you this is going to backfire hugely. And again, the fans are going to be the ones left behind.
Interesting article in The Athletic. I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. Greg Sankey, who likes to talk about everything he's reading, recently read a book about is it the Premier League or the Super League, whatever they try to do.
Super League.
That one. So he recently read a book about that. And what's happening, I mean, basically the article, and Nicole Auerbach is one of the two people behind this article, so it's great. And basically what's happening, if you want to just connect the dots, it's very similar to what happened over there.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Oklahoma and Texas being Manchester United and Real Madrid. That's pretty much what they're looking at. And the English Premier League said, "Screw you, Manchester United and Manchester City. We'll ban you from ever playing in a Champions League sports. We'll take points away." Just think if the Big 12 said, "Okay, Texas, Oklahoma, you can go to SEC, but all your wins against Big 12 opponents the next couple of years as you transfer to SEC do not count. So you may only have a 5-0 record because all those other games against big conference play don't count." Do you think they're going to be invited to a championship game or a bowl game when literally they only have 5 wins?
That's a pretty good point. So you're saying utilize the most recent case study. That is a case study, the most recent example of this as their case study as to what the future may look like. Is that the only thing? I don't know much about what happened over there. Is that the only reason that merger, super league, whatever, did not happen is because of the fans?
I think they probably had 90% of it. And then when you had the Royals come out and say, hey, this is bad, I think a lot of the bigger suits, not just the suits that have money, but we're talking about the suits that have names and titles and shields, started talking out. I think that probably hurt. But I would say 90% was for the fans. And I would love to see – I mean, I haven't really seen anything about fan polling, about what people agree. But I agree with the Big 12 thinking. I do believe that ESPN probably had something to do with this as well. So let's talk about some insider training rule. If Martha Stewart can go to jail, I think the mouse should go to jail.
Martha Stewart. Oh, we got a Martha Stewart reference.
Martha Stewart and football in the same sentence.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, only you could do that.
You might be able to get creative with Martha Stewart in football. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go there right now. I'm busy building another graphic because the SEC has made it official. July 2025, Texas and Oklahoma join, in parentheses, if not sooner.
12:48.
We could all be dead by the monkeypox by 2025.
There's no telling what's going to happen in the next 20 to 25 minutes, the way this country's going sometimes. Final work day of the month of July. Next month, boys and girls, does start football. All right. We do have some over-unders. We'll finish this segment with some over-unders to throw at you, Raphael, but I'd like to get to baseball.
You want me to cry on TV? Is that what you want me to do? You want me to cry?
We can cry together, man.
What's wrong with all you Cubs fans? Did y'all cry? Did you cry when Ernie Banks retired?
No, I was too little for that. But Ernie Banks never got me a World Series. Ernie Banks only wanted to play 2. That's all he wanted to do. He never gave me a World Series. Harry Carey never gave me a World Series. Ryan Sandberg never gave me a World Series. Leon Durham let the ball go between his legs, never gave me a World Series. Look, Rizzo gave me a World Series.
Only Rizzo? Nobody else on that team had anything to do with it?
Chris Bryant, but Rizzo, he'll be a Cub to me. I think Bryant goes somewhere else and maybe wins another championship or has a nice – but Rizzo will be a Cub.
Did you cry over the Bartman deal?
I was at the game. Yes, I cried in the left field bleachers with my buddy. Yes, I was at I missed my high school reunion for that game.
So if you cry over Bartman, you can't cry over Rizzo.
I dropped a couple of tears yesterday. I told my wife it's because she said something nice, but I was covering it up because it was Rizzo.
Look, they won the World Series. What in 2016?
Yes.
So, shoot, man, the timeline's shrinking. Only 103 more years till the next one. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I never thought I was gonna see one. So again, I think that's why I was sad yesterday. Rizzo, it was a sad day for me to see Rizzo leave.
All right. Well, for the teams that actually can contend, unlike the Cubs and the Braves and the Nationals have decided to forego the rest of this season and turn their attention to 2027. What do these deals mean for World Series odds? Who really truly won yesterday by virtue of the trade deadline, which is 3 hours and 10 minutes away? Who thus far the deal that has said, yeah, your World Series odds, they're improving drastically?
I think if you're in the NL, I mean, I'm sorry. If you're the Mets and Brewers and the Giants, where's your phone calls? Where's your refresher? Where's my ticker saying that you guys made a trade? Because right now the World Series are coming out in the NL is from the NL West. Padres and Dodgers. And what the Dodgers did yesterday, getting Turner not only helps them this year, it's going to help plug up that shortstop hole next year when they lose their free agent next year. So I thought that was a great pickup for the Dodgers because not only did they cover their butts for next year, and then they get Scherzer for a 1-year rental to try to go back-to-back for World Series. So I Padres and Dodgers, let's face it, unless for some reason the Mets and Brewers bring something to the table today, it's coming out of those two teams. And I have no idea what the Yankees are doing. I know they plugged up a left-handed bat, but Gallo, I think he just struck out right now as I'm ranting again. And then they get Rizzo. What I heard, the Yankees picked up Rizzo because they didn't want the Red Sox to have him because he was supposed to go to Red Sox with Kimball. and they stole them away from Boston. So they pick up a guy that has hamstring problems, Schwarber. There's also strikes out a lot. So I think that's why the Yankees picked up Rizzo. But I don't understand why they picked up. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're probably not going to catch Tampa. So I think right now in AL, I think it's going to be Tampa and Houston.
Really? The Schwarber deal to Boston, how's that help them? Does it? They need a closer. They probably need Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were going to get. I thought they were going to get Kimbrell. I mean, it helps them a little bit, but we all know hamstring problems for baseball players, that doesn't just go away. I mean, he's not fast or anything, but he could be jogging around from one of his high fly balls to a shallow center field and pull his hamstring again. So that's a bad injury to have. So that doesn't do, but they do need a closer. But like I said, it's Houston and Tampa. I would like to see Tampa go back again.
Okay. All right. We'll pass the word on. 12:52 on a Friday afternoon. Have you been watching the Olympics? Have you been staying up all night and all those things? You don't sleep anyways.
I'm actually getting ready to probably take my nap after I'm done here to do my 4 o'clock. Because I'm up all night watching Olympics. And then I watch morning, doing my media hits, do some props, take a nap in the afternoon, and then wake up in the evening and do it all over again.
Well, look, this is just personal preference here. The swimming is what drives it for me, and I can't wait. I think there's 4 more medal events tonight in swimming, I believe. So go Team USA when it comes to hopping in the pool. Go Team USA in general. Give me an Olympic bet that somebody can. Darren's a big better. Look, he's betting on the Nationals to finish last in the East, and now he needs something else to get him through the weekend. Make Darren some money right now. Give me an Olympic bet that it's going to win. You always come through.
Katie Ledecky's swimming tonight, 800-meter freestyle. She's minus $4, $5. I think that's low. I thought she should have been minus $8 around there. So I think that's a low bet. The Aussie, I think Timmins could be a problem for her, but it's Ledecky. So I'm all about beach volleyball, which is coming up. Their medal rounds is coming up. I love me some beach volleyball, badminton, doubles. I mean, if there's one, I'm going to butcher their last name, women doubles, Kitchen and Yifin, they're minus 180. They should be minus $3 because the only people that's going to maybe give them some hard times is from South Korea, and they've already beat them in the tournament already, so I think they're going to be easily double gold medalists for badminton.
So you bet on the shuttlecock is what you're saying?
I bet on anything that's called shuttlecock, yes. Olympic sports, if I'm on a cruise ship, yes, I'll bet on all that stuff.
Who's more likely to win a gold medal, the U.S. women's basketball team or the U.S. women's soccer team?
Women basketball. They look soft in their penalty kick victory. Some bad passing. I just don't know if I hate to say there's some girls that are a little bit past their prime, but they look sometimes slow, especially in the second half. And if they're going to have to face off a team that has youth and speed, that causes them problems. So I would have to say right now, I would give ladies in basketball a goal. But I still think women soccer can win a goal. I'm not saying they're going to lose, but they have some holes that they didn't have before.
They've had 8 or 9 goals that have been waved off because they've been offsides.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But if we're going to talk soccer, I can't skip this out. Sunday, Gold Cup finals in my backyard in Las Vegas, Mexico and U.S.
Yep.
When these two teams play, I could give a rat's ass about the rivalry of Boston Red Sox and the Yankees and Dodgers and Giants. The rivalry in all sports is USA, Mexico, and soccer. They throw urine at each other. They cuss out in each language. That's a rivalry. So I can't wait to see that match. I think Mexico wins, but I just love watching USA, Mexico, and soccer because that's a rivalry. That's a hated rivalry.
I was about to ask you. I was going to ask you that. I had jotted that down in my notes. If the U.S. can win the gold, look, I'm not a big soccer guy, okay, but I will pay attention when this match is played. If they can beat Mexico, what will that mean for the U.S. men's soccer program? Because, boy, do they need some type of shot in the arm.
It's a win for them already because people were calling this their C team. They're not their A team or B team. This is like their C team. They have teenagers and guys who've never put on the Olympic jersey before. So if they can beat Mexico, who doesn't have I would say their B team, Mexico, their B team, maybe A-. If they can beat Mexico, and let's face it, a Mexican crowd, because let's face it, Vegas is going to be all Mexicans instead of USA in Vegas. If they can beat Mexico on Sunday, that's a huge, huge, huge step for USA men's soccer.
Mexico's a half-goal favorite. Who
Yes.
wins? Who wins?
I think it's going to be an under game. Take the under 2.5. I think it goes into overtime. But I think Mexico, like I said, this is a very young USA team. But I think Mexico squeaks it out. But if Mexico plays like they did last night against Canada, USA can easily win this game in 90 minutes.
All right. You have we got 2 minutes left with you. We're going to throw these over-unders up for the college football season.
Alabama, perfect.
ACC, SEC. Darren and I will do this ourselves a little bit later in the program. Brought to you by Jeff McCarriger with Carolina One Real Estate. Ole Miss over under 7.5 wins.
I'm going to go over. I think their offense is going to be what it looked like for the first couple of games last year. I like Ole Miss this year. I think their offense will be a little bit improved this year. I think both lines, offense and defensive line, will play much better. I like them this year. I think they float around 8 wins.
Ooh, wow. That would be something for Lane Kiffin. He did have 5 last year in a 10-game league schedule. By the way, they should start. I think that they're much better than Louisville, personally. If they beat Louisville, they should be 3-0 going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama in week.
And they'll be 3-1 because Alabama will be probably 22, 23-point favorites.
Oh, there you go. You're the odds guy. You would know. All right. What do we have? Kentucky. The Kentucky Wildcats in what seems like the 100th year, but I think it's the 9th year for Coach Mark Stoops. How about him and the Wildcats over under 7.5 wins? They were 5-6 last year with that 10-game league schedule in the bowl game.
We put that half a hook on there just because most books have 7 and got pounded on the over. I said let's put that half a point because it's going to go either way. I want to say take the under at 7.5 and maybe try to middle and get that 7 at another book. To try to back yourself. I'm gonna say under at 7.5. I think I would not be shocked if they get 7 wins this year.
Well, you're gonna know whether they're gonna get over 7.5 or not by week 4 because 2 programs that they are what you might call what's the word I'm looking to? What's that?
Inferior to?
No, two programs that you could gauge yourself well against. What would be that word?
Aid?
I don't have my dictionary in front of me, and I can't hear today. My right ear, Raphael. I have an ear infection. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Missouri and South Carolina are on weeks 2 and 4 for them, so those will be a couple of games to watch.
Barometer games. Is that what
barometer? See,
there you go.
When you can't hear, you can't think. Only half my brain is working. All right, a couple of ACC programs to ask you about real quick as well. How about the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Raphael, over under 6.5 wins? I
still think they're a couple years away. I'm going to go under, even though the books took some heavy, I don't want to say heavy action, some over action early at 6.5. I'm not there yet on the Demon Deacons. I'm going to go under.
Okay. All right. And Georgia Tech finally at 5.5.
I would say over. I think they're going to improve year after year now. The new offense is finally starting to maybe come through. I think the offensive line will play much better. Defense, I still think they have a little bit of hole, especially in the secondary. But I'm going to go over. I think 5.5 is just a little bit too low. I think they get six wins, maybe even 7 if they could squeak out, let's say, an overtime victory or a fluke win.
Those over-unders brought to you by mybookie.ag. That's where they set him. Raphael Esparza, that's where we get him from. MyBookie.ag, 50% sign-up bonus on your first $1,000, up to your first $1,000 if you haven't done it. And there are other great deals there as well. Some of you maybe have never gone down this road. Sports betting has become a part of the fabric of America, if you'd like to say it that way. It's pretty common these days, and maybe you're waiting on football season. Maybe the Olympics are the great time. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter. Go to mybookie.ag and check it out for yourselves. So many different ways to have some fun, including all these entertainment bets that Raphael puts up there, like who's going to win the John Smith Award at the Emmys and things like that. Things I know nothing about.
That ear infection's causing your brain to
I don't watch the Emmy Awards. Never have.
It's entertaining. Girls dress up in hot dresses. That's the only reason why I watch.
I live in Charleston. That's every day around here, man.
But both of you are making lots of good points here, just back and forth.
That's right. That's right. On that note,
Castro suspended for 30 games for your Nationals too, so you can add that to your bucket.
I saw that.
He's been gone anyway, and honestly, he's not coming back to the Nationals.
No.
He does not have a home. I don't know if another team will take him, but I can assure you Mike Rizzo and Dave Martinez are not taking him back.
No, I think it was his third strike. So, yeah.
Castro and Ozuna are looking for a pickup game somewhere. Yeah. We'll let you run, my friend. Have a wonderful weekend with the Olympics, the Gold Cup. We know that you'll be fired up to watch all of that and much, much more. We'll do it again next Friday.
Take it easy, guys. Have a great weekend. Hope you feel better.
Thanks, bud. There you go. Raphael Esparza on Twitter at VSI.sports. All right, time for a timeout. The national anthem is up next, and then we'll head to Big Ten country. Brendan Gulick with BuckeyesNow.SI.com will join us. We'll talk about this whole, whatever you want to call it, expansion thing from that side. We haven't had that conversation yet. Also, Greg Sankey has spoken on Oklahoma and Texas. And in my inbox here from Columbia, Coach Tanner has issued a statement for the Gamecocks. I'll read that to you as well right here on the JB and Goldwater Show when we return.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump? Strike two! If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come to us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour Friday afternoon, the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, stokesvw.com. Make sure you've downloaded the app. Also, make sure you head to jbandgoldwatershow.com for more, and that you follow us across social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Thanks to Raphael Esparza for joining us from New Orleans in that last segment, and we do have some golf to get to just a little bit with Scott Glaze. We got our buy or sell coming up as well. We got Brendan Gulick on the line. We're going to get to him in just 1 second. But bear with me here. From Coach Tanner at the University of South Carolina, quote, the addition of the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma into the Southeastern Conference will excite Gamecock student athletes, coaches, and fans. 30 years ago, the University of South Carolina accepted an invitation to join the SEC. Each day since, the young men and women who have represented our program have benefited from the conference's mission. The SEC continues to be positioned well for athletic and academic success, and we are proud to be part of such a great conference that enriches the experiences of our student athletes. The SEC is the best and toughest athletic conference in the nation. Our student athletes and coaches have always enjoyed competing in this league and look forward to the opportunity to do so against the Longhorns and the Sooners as members of the SEC. That is officially from the desk of Coach Tanner. Also want to pass this along early in the week, next week, either on Monday or Tuesday, probably we'll be joined by Pat DeMarco on the Gamecocks football staff up in Columbia. All right, all that. I'm sorry, Brendan. We've just left you hanging, my friend. Brendan Gulick with Buckeyes Now SI, joining us from Big Ten country, and I guess now the home of the Cleveland Guardians, even though they don't have access to a website just yet. What's up, man?
Good to catch up with you guys, and thanks for reaching out. It's obviously been kind of a dead time, right? Not much to talk about. So I figured, they're probably just reaching out to a Big Ten guy because they want to see if there's anything going on in any other part of the country.
Yeah. Probably nothing.
That's exactly why, because we're trying to figure out what else is going on, because the only thing we hear is what's going on in the SEC. There's got to be something, right?
Got to be something. Yeah, it's man, this is as crazy a time as I can ever remember in college athletics, and I realize my time covering college sports doesn't necessarily go back that long, but just historically, you start to think about all of the impacts that some of these decisions are having with name, image, and likeness, and the transfer portal, and now the conference realignment again, and all of the trickle down effects with these programs. It's just crazy. So easy to stay on your toes because there's news flying left and right.
All right, Brennan, I know that you cover Ohio State specifically for Buckeyes Now as part of the Sports Illustrated network. What type of conversations have you had with the folks in Columbus, and have they commented on anything? Have they made any comments about whether the league has approached other athletics departments about joining the Big Ten, or whether there were any changes they were or are maybe expecting to see in the future as part of some of this realignment conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the Big Ten right now is trying to take a step back and figure out what the smartest move going forward is. The reality is, even with Texas and Oklahoma as now officially members of the SEC, it's been official for a week. But
right.
Now today it's locked in stone. The Big Ten's the only league that can actually compete with the SEC on a balance sheet. The Big Ten, as of media rights deals that haven't changed yet. So I guess even still as of today, the Big Ten is still an older and wealthier conference than the SEC is, despite what you might think about in terms of the football product. The conference expansion is all about media markets. Everybody wants to think about it in terms of which good football teams can we add to a league to make the league more fun and competitive. But that's not really how this whole thing works. That's such a small component of it. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at some of the teams the Big Ten, could quote unquote geographically consider adding. I mean, I've heard a lot of things thrown out there. Iowa State and Kansas and, Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Like, I'm sorry, none of those programs do anything to help the Big Ten have a better media deal and make more money the next time, they go to market here at the end of 22. So that just doesn't make a ton of sense. Frankly, I would think Pitt is a better fit in the Big Ten than any of the schools in the Big 12. I've heard a lot of stuff pandered about with, well, what if they add Oregon or USC or, go out and poach some schools out of the Pac-12? I guess I understand the merits of that argument if you go out to some bigger media markets, but the West Coast college teams, unless they're top 10 teams, they don't tend to draw a lot of eyeballs. They're pro sports towns. There's a reason why USC and UCLA don't get great audiences unless they're really, really good. And that's the case for most of the league, which unfortunately is why the Pac-12 hasn't had a great TV deal. So on top of the fact that, in my opinion, college football is all about regionalism, and it feeds on, proximity and rivalries that feel like they're literally within, a household divided, because Darren and I are brothers, and he went to Penn State and I went to Ohio State. Now we hate each other.
That's right.
That's what makes college football fun. And if you have Ohio State the same league as Washington and Arizona, just because, there's schools out in other markets that want to join, I don't think that's a great move. So I know that's a roundabout way of answering this, but I don't know if there's a great move right now for the Big Ten. And I think they might recognize that and rather than do something rash and just start adding programs to the conference because it feels like this arms race you got to keep up with the SEC, I think they are probably a bit more content saying, hey, look, we're good with where we are. And, if there's a school that makes sense, we'd consider it. But I don't think they're going to rush to add another program.
How about Kevin Warren specifically? How comfortable is the rest of the leadership in this league with him in charge of what may be to come?
That's a great question. Fans would probably tell you they'd rather have someone else making those decisions, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for Kevin Warren. He's never negotiated a TV rights deal, so there's a component to this of not knowing what he can handle when this deal is up here in 22. But you'd like to think that with his legal background and with putting some pretty smart minds around him that the league can handle it. I don't know. He kind of walked into this job less than 3 months in, and the very first thing he had to do as a commissioner in terms of like a sizable decision was cancel the Big Ten basketball tournament, and walked into a crisis in COVID that it felt like everybody in college athletics had different thoughts and feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
And last year the competitive nature of certain teams on the field, I think you almost threw out the window. Darren, you know it, man. I don't think Penn State was as bad as they really were last year. I'd like to think Michigan wasn't as bad as they were last year. They should have lost to Rutgers, and you can't convince me that Michigan is really, on the same level as Rutgers right now. So I think there's just components to this last year that, you sort of have to just flush, and that probably it probably influences your thinking about conference leadership more than it should. But I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you guys that everybody is flying Kevin Warren's flags at their houses and really love everything that's gone on, because that's just not true.
Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now, SI. So you mentioned something which I totally agree with you, Brendan, in the fact that, you know, what makes college football, college athletics in general so great is the fact that, you know, the flag outside of my home is garnet and black, and the flag outside of my neighbor's home is purple and orange. Now, I kind of wish that he was a couple more doors down.
Because you like seeing that every day, huh? Okay.
That's the whole
But,
point.
you know, a little close for me, but no, I'm just kidding. But you're totally right. Like, that's what makes it special. It really is. In saying that, though, Cincinnati's right there. They're, you know, Cincinnati's in the state of Ohio. I'm not sure if you knew that. Why should or shouldn't they be considered if expansion ever comes to the Big Ten? Why should or shouldn't they be considered part of that conversation?
Well, why should they be considered? They've been very competitive. Their football program right now is probably as strong as it's ever been. And under the current college football playoff format, if there is a scenario that exists for a school like Cincinnati to actually make the college football playoff, they're in it. They were really good last year. They should have beaten Georgia and really choked away the end of the game. They've brought everybody back this year. They're probably going to open the year as a top 10 team, and they play Notre Dame and Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. And if they run the table and have a couple wins over Power 5 teams, they could probably make a case. It's kind of that perfect storm. Historically, their basketball program has been extremely competitive. You know, there's a ton of passion in that fan base. That's probably the best example of a reason why they should be considered. But I don't, and if they were given another $40 million a year because they were a Big Ten school, they could grow their facilities the way they would need to. You know, they could continue to recruit well. I don't think they'd have an issue growing into, I don't know, like an Indiana at its height, right? I mean, you could think they could at least get to be that good if they were given the financial resources and the time to you know, build that. But why does the Big Ten need Cincinnati? That's kind of the bigger question here. That market is already Ohio State territory. And, you know, I realize Ohio State is truly a national brand, but I mean, I haven't seen the TV figures to tell you exact numbers, but man, I have to believe that there's a lot of Buckeye eyeballs in Southern Ohio. And so, you know, is the Big Ten going to gain much from adding Cincinnati when they've already got people paying attention to that league with their TV remotes or their streaming rights anyways there? So I think that's probably their biggest detractor.
I hear you. I'm not saying that I disagree with you. Here's where I question some of this. I'm not questioning you. This is where I'm questioning today's negotiations when it comes to these type of conversations, expansion and TV deals and stuff like that. Because you got streaming, which is such a big part of it. And as you mentioned, you know, everything used to be basically regionalized when it came to I mean, that's why Rutgers is in the Big Ten. They got the market, right? But if you're bringing now into play, Brendan, and I'm literally, this is a conversation for the three of us to have here. If you're bringing now into play an expanded college football playoff, 12 teams, 8 teams even, but the way that it's going, looking like 12 teams, maybe even one day if this thing goes to more than that, to 16. Your league is going to make more money when you have more representation in that playoff. So if you ask, well, what do you gain out of this? Well, Cincinnati's a program that has a chance to be in the playoff every year. Yeah, you're not gaining a whole lot of extra eyeballs, if any, but you are gaining another program that has a chance to be in the college football playoff. And when you have to compete against a league like the SEC or maybe another one that ends up being out there who could fill 5 or 6 spots themselves, that's going to give you a shot at recovering some of those funds. Agree? Disagree?
I agree with the general premise, but I'd push back on 2 fronts. One, I don't think Cincinnati's a better football program than half of the teams in the league currently. And I just don't think that because Cincinnati could become, quote unquote, a Big Ten team under this exercise here, I don't think that necessarily makes them a playoff contender. Wisconsin's a better football program. In general, Penn State and Michigan are both better football programs. Cincinnati's got a great coach right now, and they're having a great run. But I think they'd lose to Indiana. I think last year's team would probably struggle to beat Northwestern. Northwestern was really, really good last year. And Iowa has been a great program. So Cincinnati would have some work to do before they could really compete consistently in the Big Ten, although I think it's possible they could do that. The other component to this, though, that I'm just not entirely sure of yet is what is this playoff expansion going to look like? I think it's inevitable that it's going to expand, and I've been saying forever I hate the 14 playoff. I thought it should have been 8 from the get-go, and that's fun because everybody has their own thoughts and feelings about it. It's great to talk about. But wasn't that whole premise of expanding to 12 basically put on the table before Texas and Oklahoma dropped an atomic bomb on college football and blew this whole thing up? I don't know if we're going to see a vote to expand to 12 right away, because part of what that negotiation process was like guaranteed the Big 12 a seat at the table. And right now, I don't think they've got a program worthy of being in the college football playoff conversation, for an upcoming season. So we don't even know if that league is going to survive. So I agree that the playoff is probably going to expand, but I don't know if we're going to know those answers until we figure out what actually happens to the Big 12.
Can the Big Ten realistically make a run at Notre Dame?
No, unfortunately not. And they are the the one school that every conference in America would love to add and wouldn't think twice about it, and might even hand them a blank check and say, what's it going to take? I just had a really good podcast with Brian Driscoll, who covers Notre Dame for Irish Breakdown, which is our Sports Illustrated site for Notre Dame. He does an awesome job. And he laid out basically why Notre Dame is pretty darn content with staying as an independent. They like being a little different, for one, but they pretty much have the best thing going financially that they can put together. They actually make less money on television than any other Power 5 school in the country. But by being independent, they actually make more money than most schools in the country when you factor in all of the other ways that athletic department generates revenue. Because they're only getting like $15 million a year or something like that from NBC, which is significantly less money than a lot of these other Power 5 programs are getting. But technically, to the letter of the law, Notre Dame is contractually obligated to the ACC until 2036 if it wants to join a league. And ACC, in the same way, would have to add Notre Dame before they would add another school, as I understand it. But, just like Texas and Oklahoma were contractually obligated in the Big 12, these things can all get blown up in a court of law. So who knows how that's going to play out. Your specific question about the Big Ten, the Big Ten has wanted to add Notre Dame for a long time. In fact, Notre Dame is a hockey affiliate in the Big Ten. Notre Dame felt slighted by Michigan back in the 1940s. And as Brian told us on my podcast, that Notre Dame's got a pretty long memory, and they are not willing to forgive Michigan and have no interest in helping the Big Ten, which is disappointing because that's the one school that is a total no-brainer to add to this league. But alas.
from the 40s.
It's Notre Dame. That's Notre Dame for you. By the way, trivia question to both of you. Either one of you know when Notre Dame's TV deal runs out with NBC?
I'm not sure.
I actually don't know if it does. Isn't it like a...
Oh, it runs out.
I might just be making this up. Does it run out? Okay, I wasn't sure if it was sort of an ongoing deal. I don't know.
2025. Interesting timing.
Okay.
Isn't that the year that playoffs and Texas and Oklahoma? Boys and girls, I think we're in for a large change in this sport over the next couple of years. You just have to wonder. I mean, ESPN, or Disney, I should say, everybody wants Notre Dame somehow, whether it's in a league, whether it's with a TV deal, whether it's just to sell their apparel, it doesn't matter. So if their deal is almost up with NBC in 2025, you almost have to think maybe ESPN and ABC somewhere are saying, I have an idea. Maybe we could find a way to, I don't know, own the college football playoff and Notre Dame. Maybe not.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Think about Notre Dame's perspective, guys. Right now, today, I think there's even less reason for them to want to leave their independence, especially if the playoff does expand, because there's less of a requirement, I guess is the right word, to win a conference title to get in. They're always relevant. They're going to get eyeballs from all across the country because they've got a broadcast affiliate with a TV deal like NBC. It's a little high and mighty, but they kind of like feeling that way, and it works for them. So I think somewhere along the way, they will probably be semi-forced into joining a league, and that league would probably be the ACC. But again, let's think about the geography of this, right? Why are we calling it the ACC anymore? What are they on the Atlantic coast of? Like Michigan? South Bend, Indiana doesn't fit in that league in terms of its geography from Boston to Miami. So again, there's just going to be so much change in college sports, certainly in college football. The NCAA is kind of crumbling here, and you guys are in the heart of this stuff down in SEC and ACC country. If things continue to move this direction, I just read a great article a couple days ago. The SEC is probably going to make $1.3 billion in the 24-25 fiscal year. That's the same amount of money that the NCAA is projected to bring in. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, don't kid yourselves. Greg Sankey's the most powerful man in college athletics.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all, what's to stop the SEC from telling the NCAA, you know what? We make more money than you do. You don't own college football. We don't really want to play by your rules anymore. We don't care. Will it be quite that cut and dry? I don't know. But we're shifting toward the NCAA as an entity becoming rather irrelevant, especially with college football. So
yeah,
I just hope we don't wake up in 5 years and don't recognize the sport that we used to know and love.
That is a fear of a lot of people out there, Brendan. I mentioned that to Darren about a little over an hour ago on this program. I said, fans have built this sport. If you leave them behind, you might have all the money in the world for a while, but I fear what would be to come after that, certainly. We got to let you run on that note, but if you be so kind to maybe rejoin us here in just a couple of weeks after camp is underway, we'd love to get a real look at the Buckeyes football program. They're pretty good program, clearly, and they got some guys up there who can compete a little bit. Maybe they'll crack the playoff. Maybe not. Who knows? But we'd love to get your thoughts on whether you think they could at least make a bowl game this year.
Well, at least make a bowl game. That's funny. I'd be happy to rejoin you, and I'll leave you with this little bit of filler because all of the other stuff that's gone on isn't enough. Ohio State's class of 2022 quarterback commit, Quinn Ewers, is the number one rated prospect in the country. He's a quarterback from Texas, and by most most recruiting services is one of the highest rated kids ever in this last 20-year stretch since they've started, issuing recruiting stars and all this stuff, right? He's legally not allowed to profit off his name, image, and likeness as a high school kid based off of Texas state law. And so we apparently told Pete Thamel at Yahoo Sports a couple days ago that he is highly considering and, quote, leaning towards leaving high school early and joining Ohio State's roster this year because he could make upwards of $1 million already off his name, image, and likeness, or he could play high school football for one more year. So Ohio State's got potentially now maybe 4 guys trying to replace Justin Fields, and we've got a high school kid that could make $1 million.
So he could.
This whole thing is wild, man.
I saw the story, man. So before we let you go, if he does do that and skips his senior year, I guess he already has enough credits to graduate and enroll and could be a student and therefore play. He wouldn't have to just sit out.
Correct.
Oh.
That's correct. He literally could move on campus. Camp starts August 3rd, like Tuesday. He could be on campus, finish. Apparently, he's been taking an English class over the summer. It was the last thing he needed to do, and he will fulfill what he needs to fulfill to graduate from South Lake Carroll High School in Texas, and literally could be on campus and in training camp. And, I highly doubt he would be the starting quarterback week 1. I have no idea what kind of shape he's in. I mean, could be a high school senior, right? Should we think that all of a sudden he's that physically gifted that he can hop on the field and compete in the Big Ten? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. He's got an incredible arm. He's fun to watch for sure. His highlight tapes are great, but I mean, you want to talk about more uncharted territory. Like this whole thing's just wild.
Well, and you're right. We'll talk more about this here in a couple of weeks when we get you back in, but it's not just about, I mean, Brendan, you know this as well as anybody. It's not just about getting up there and competing in the Big Ten. You're at Ohio State. You have to win games, like 11 of them at least. Yeah. High school seniors probably aren't good enough to win 11 or 12 regular season games quite yet for Ohio State. So competing, maybe you can compete.
Good enough to make a bowl game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
Relevancy.
Look, we have to be careful with our Ohio guests in South Carolina. I have to act like I'm being kind to you, but also act like, we don't really want you around here. You know what I'm saying?
It's a delicate balance, I'm sure.
I know it's a hard line to walk, man. But we get through it. So no, great stuff, man. Really happy we got a chance to talk to you. I'm glad that Darren got this set up because it's really interesting to hear the perspective of the Big Ten. We know that you'll continue to dig into all of this, and if anything changes sooner than later, we'll certainly get you back on. But we'll definitely talk to you before the season and let you give us a Buckeyes preview because I certainly feel like they will be a national championship contender. Brendan Gulick with Buckeyes Now SI. Thank you so much, my friend.
Cheers, guys.
Later.
There you go, Brendan Gulick up there in Ohio. I mean, I can't, you know how it goes.
That Ewers thing, I saw that
Strange.
he would leave, and I knew the reasons he can't make money. There are states that allow high schoolers to make money right now. Yeah. They all should at this point, but that's another conversation. Texas does not. So I saw that he could and was leaning towards, in his words, go to Ohio State early. I just assumed that meant be on campus in order to make money and play in a year. I didn't realize, wait, in 2 weeks, I could be suited up. Yeah,
that's crazy, man. I don't know that a kid, if a kid like that ever think, well, I'm ready, I can go start. The first thing I would do is if I was the head coach, if I was Ryan Day, day one of camp, I'd say, no problem. Here you go. You're QB1. Get out there, big boy. Let's see how it all works out. And then after about 3 snaps, say, okay, go sit on the bench and watch how it's done for a while.
He's got a nice mullet if you haven't seen him.
Yeah, I saw you. I saw the mullet. Mm-hmm. All right, we got to hit a timeout. While we were talking to Brendan Gulick, the Atlanta Braves agreed to terms with outfielders Adam Duvall and Eddie Rosario. Rosario coming over from Cleveland, and Duvall is coming up from Florida or Miami. You might remember the name. He's been in Atlanta already, and now he's back. So the Braves have acquired 3 outfielders in the last couple of weeks. That, of course, does include Jock Peterson. So the Braves trying and hoping not to go anywhere down the stretch with maybe a crack at winning the National League East. We'll see. All right, when we return, we do have Scott Glaze. We got to get to him on some golf stuff. Darren and I will quickly give you our over-under win totals for Ole Miss, Kentucky, Wake Forest, and Georgia Tech, and then we'll send you on to your weekend right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Remember, Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road is the fastest, easiest way to sell your car and get the most money for your trade. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump? Strike two! If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per $1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Dub.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Shrimping season's back. That means local caught shrimp. That's right, local caught shrimp back on the menu at the Dog and Duck. All three locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road, now featuring once again local caught hand-breaded shrimp, plus other daily specials like the Game Day Burger every Wednesday, Rib Night on Friday, rotating taps all the time, and all the TVs you can possibly imagine for whatever you want to watch. The Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road. Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. I don't want to work either. 20 more minutes, and we don't have to, at least for the weekend. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Scott Glaze is here, but we have a couple of things to take care of first before Scotty jumps in. So just hold on. So tomorrow, everybody can go party with Darren at the Dog and Duck 20th anniversary party. They will have a slip and slide, an ice luge, ice hockey. I'm just kidding. Well, what's going on?
15 degrees.
Tell us about this party tomorrow, because if I could, find a way to hear out of this here, I might maybe show up and start throwing them back with you.
All three locations: Bell Hall, Park West, Clements Ferry, all day. You've got live music. You've got Game Day Burgers, I believe, for just $5. I'll check the ad again as I throw it up. Yep, the DT Double, that's the Game Day Burger. The Cooper River Draft, they're talking about a brand new beer brewed just for this occasion. I believe it's DD Brew, or D2 Brew, I think is the official name, D2 Brew. So $4 for that. It's a light American lager. And it's 20 years of the Dog and Duck, and they've been great supporters of ours. I can tell you, when we signed the papers, my wife and I, for our first house, we signed them in that one, in the restaurant in Bell Hall. So we've been longtime supporters. They're family to ours. You can bet that we'll be at one of them, if not multiple locations tomorrow.
See you, Scott.
Hey, what's funny is that
he loves the bar so much he deeded his home to it.
I'm gonna text you tomorrow, Darren, because there's a good chance I might ride out there. But man, that's some loyalty right there. I love it.
No, there's a good chance I'll be there when you go.
Do they have cheesecake?
They got cake. Yeah, I'll give you that. They got desserts. I know that.
It sounds like a true day drinker. Well, they got cake. I know that. Oh well, all right. Then they have cake. Let's see. I'm pulling up the menu. I don't know. I want to see.
Their desserts are typically on special on the special.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're actually on the menu.
Okay. Well, today is National Cheesecake Day.
Yeah. All right.
Oh.
So that's kind of why I was asking, and I'm a big fan of cheesecake. So, it's still rib night tonight, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Every Friday night's rib night.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, Scott, before we get to Olympic golf, you can be a part of this conversation with us if you'd like to. Darren and I, leading into football season, have our buy or sell segment for the over-unders, and we'll make this pretty quick because I think it is pretty quick for these four. Buy or sell is brought to you by our friend Jeff McCarriger. Carolina One Real Estate here in the Low Country. Jeff.McCarriger at carolina1.com. He's also a broadcaster. He's Darren's best friend. He just happens to be one of his best friends, and he's got great hair, though, like Scotty. And he also is a hell of a realtor, and I know this to be true because I know one of his clients. So he's a special person, special realtor, takes care of you. Might even sell you a house for if you want to be out there by a golf course and I don't know, Stono Ferry. Jeff.McCarriger at carolina1.com. All right, real quick. In the ACC, Wake Forest and Georgia Tech will kind of knock these out fairly quickly. Darren, over under Wake 6.5 wins.
Well, I'll do them both for you. I don't expect much from either, although selfishly hoping for a good year from Hartman and company at Wake. I'm going under for both Georgia Tech and Wake Forest.
Yeah, I'm right on it with Wake. I'm at 6. I've got them going to a bowl game. It's 6-6. I'm with you about Sam Hartman, Oceanside Collegiate product. But it's a strange. Not a strange schedule. It's kind of strange because there's so many teams that are kind of like right there, and who knows how it'll go. So I just split it even. I said, you know what? I think they're 6-6, but do like Sam Hartman and think they have enough talent around them to even win up to 8 games this year, believe it or not. But they also could only win 4 or 5. So I'm with you. I'm under. I got them at 6. How about Georgia Tech? Jeff Collins still in the midst of trying to get it turned around over there in Atlanta. And sometimes when you're trying to institute a high-flying offense, it takes a little time. We've got them at 5, or excuse me, mybookie.ag has them at 5.5 over under. They were 3-7 last season.
Yeah, I just don't see that bounce back coming from Georgia Tech. The benefit for them, obviously, is their league. But you're going to have to prove this to me, man. You're still moving away from the option. You're still putting in place the athletes and everything that you need. You're going to have to show me that you're going to be a 500 football team before I even come close to thinking you will.
Yeah, I look at their schedule and I see 4 guaranteed losses at Clemson, North Carolina, at Miami, and at Notre Dame. And then there's some others in there that I would not pick them to win in based on a couple of different things. 5 guaranteed losses. I forgot the Georgia game at the end of the season. Virginia Tech at Virginia, hosting Pitt. Too much for me. Boston College, a team this year that we kind of like BC. Just too much there. I've got them under. I've got them at 5. I think they maybe win another game or two. I've got them at 5-7. All right, real quickly in the SEC as well, Kentucky and Ole Miss. Kentucky over under at 7.5. That seemingly is where you're seeing their number everywhere, and they are starting to become a darling for some of the pickers out there. Maybe third in the East or something like that. And I'll just go ahead and start this conversation. I've got Kentucky under.
They're a tough one because I see maybe 4 or 5 that they should win, but are they going to steal 3?
Yeah.
That's the question. I'm going to go over because I'm going under with the other 2 that we've already done. And a little preview, I might be going under again with somebody else. So I'll take Kentucky with the over because the SEC East might be gettable this year, especially, outside of Georgia, Florida, who knows?
Yeah. They certainly can tote it. The Hernandez kid is great, but they can't throw the football. And defensively, they'll be fine with Mark Stoops, but they can't throw the football. I got them at 7. And then Ole Miss, I'm with Raphael. I've got Ole Miss winning 8 games this year, Darren.
Really?
Yes, I do. I like Ole Miss to beat Louisville, Austin Peay in week 2, Tulane. I like them to beat Arkansas. That's 4. I like them to beat Liberty. That's 5. I like them to beat Vanderbilt. That's 6. And I've got them in the Egg Bowl, and I've got them against Tennessee as well. I've got them with 8 wins.
I'm going under for Ole Miss at 7.5. I love the fact that they're bringing back the offense. They're going to pitch it around. They're going to look good offensively. But honestly, I'm not sure about Ole Miss, and I'm not sure if they trip up or not against Liberty. I'm not even willing to guarantee that Liberty game at all. So I'm not going to sit here and say they're over 7.5. If I'm sitting here wondering if I think I'm confident that they beat Liberty, no. I think Liberty, they should beat them, right? They're going to be a probably double-digit favorite, but I'm not sold.
I got him at 8. Scott, does Ole Miss lose to Liberty at home?
Let's see. Is Hugh Freeze still at Liberty?
Yeah, he's still there. That's going to be a weird deal. But he ain't going to beat him, though.
Yeah, we'll see. That's what I'm saying. They're going to be heavy underdogs, but just in my head, I'm like, I can't sit there and say yes. Like, they're going to beat Austin Peay. I can sit here and say that. I can't do that with Liberty. So I'm going under for Ole Miss.
Whatever. Scott's like, I don't care.
Hey, well, I will say that in terms of golf, those 4 schools, Ole Miss are your women's national champions this year. Kentucky, very sneaky golf program. They've won the Hootie at Bulls Bay a couple times here in town, the collegiate event. Wake Forest, one of the best men's golf programs of all time, home to Arnold Palmer, Curtis Strange, Webb Simpson, Lenny Watkins, and so many players come through Wake Forest. And then Georgia Tech, another great golf program. David Duval, Matt Kuchar, Stuart Sink, Cameron Tringale, a lot of guys that come through Georgia Tech. So what they may be lacking on the football field, they're making up for on the golf course, which I have a little more knowledge.
Well, that's a great transition into golf, believe it or not. So I haven't had much of a chance to watch the Olympic golf. They play at like 4 a.m.
It's great. No, it's live at like 6 o'clock at night our time. You can watch a lot. It's on Golf Channel.
Oh, well, I guess I've just missed the schedule. So every time I see it, I'm like waking up in the middle of the night. I'm like, no. But Xander Schauffele's leading. Round 2 has been suspended, but he's 11 under par. He's a shot ahead of Carlos Ortiz. Are we going to have an American win this thing?
That'd be great. We had in the first Olympics 2016, Matt Kuchar won the bronze, and I know that meant a ton to him. This is a great leaderboard. I love seeing the mixture of players that we have. Xander Schauffele played great today, yesterday, whatever it is. In
8 under.
Japan. Yeah, 8 under today or in round 2, and made 2 eagles, no bogeys, surged to the top of the leaderboard. Carlos Ortiz playing well. Mito Pereira, he had the Battlefield promotion from the Korn Ferry Tour. Won 3 times on the Korn Ferry Tour, got the Battlefield promotion to the PGA Tour for the remainder of the season. He will have his tour card for next year. And boy, that'd be quite a year to earn your PGA Tour card through that Battlefield promotion and then to potentially medal at the Olympics. I think it's great to see Hideki up there in his home country. Golf is huge in Japan. It's huge in the Asian market. So I hate that we don't have the fans there, because I think this tournament would have a huge buzz being in Japan. So that's a shame, but I know that'd be a huge deal for Hideki Matsuyama. Then you have the best name in the field with Jazz Janawana. They're at 7 under.
Is that how you say it?
That is how you say it, Janawana. I had to look up the phonetic.
I had no idea
of that. But what's great is that this, we have 60 players in the field, and a lot of guys that are not household names. I mean, our 4 Americans are, and then you have your Rory McIlroys, your Hideki Matsuyamas. But it is great to see some other guys that representing their country and playing great golf. It's fun. I really want golf to succeed in the Olympics. There's no guarantee that we're going to have it for the next 50, 100 years in the Olympic Games. So that's why I hate that the fans aren't there, because I think it would really elevate Olympic golf with as big as golf is. over in Japan. But what is going to be difficult is to see. It's been nice the first 2 rounds to watch. Because it's on in prime time, and with the staggered tee times, you've been able to see basically everybody that you want to see play. What's going to be difficult the next 2 days, as they pair people based on their scores, is that your leaders are going to be teeing off, probably around midnight, I would guess, our time. So that'll be a little tough to see it live, to see who actually wins. But looks like right now, unless we get a low round out of the other 3 Americans, Morikawa, Reed, or JT, who is having a pedestrian go at it at 1 under. Looks like Schauffele is going to be the best chance for the American contingent.
Perfect. Have you ever played at Kasumi Gaseki Country Club?
No, I have not. That one's on the list. Just haven't gotten over there yet.
It's in Saitama. You've been there, right? That's I'd say you could probably do it in 8, but if you're not speeding, it's only a 9-hour drive or so.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just kidding. For anybody that tries to drive 9 hours to Japan, God help you. Par 71 at about almost 7,500 yards. What is there a big difference in American golf courses versus some of these Japanese courses they play on?
What I've noticed and what they've talked about on the broadcast and what we've seen is the amount of putts being holed. These guys have been putting extremely well. Paul Azinger has mentioned it several times about how pure the greens are. I need to look into what type of grass that they have over there. But the greens at this golf course, clearly not extremely undulating, and guys are pouring them in from all over. Seeing a lot of putts hold 20, 25, 30 feet. No characteristics that really stand out to me. I think Japan's beautiful. The foliage and stuff over there is a lot different than what we have here. It seems like it is a golf course that is in mint condition. It is playing very soft, playing very much like an American golf course. And I thought, we do have Xander playing very well, but I thought that'd play into the hands of our American squad and to the likes of a Rory McIlroy, to a Hideki Matsuyama, people who are used to playing these tour caliber courses. But par 71, 7,500 yards, that's a big boy golf course. There's nothing nothing to scoff at with this one at all.
Well, that was kind of my question. I was like, wait a second here. We got a leader at 11 under who just dropped 8 under, 63 in round 2 for Xander Schauffele, but it's par 71 at 7,500 yards. It just didn't, but you mentioned the putting, so it all makes sense now. By the way, the ladies, they'll be coming up on August the 3rd through the 7th. The ladies' side will play. Let me ask you this one real quick. So JT's 1 under through 17. Remember, play is suspended right now over there at hold on. Kasumi, I can't even remember how to say it now.
Honestly, I've watched a ton of it, and I still can't sit here and tell you.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Kasumi Gaseki, right? Kasumi Gaseki?
That sounds right.
Okay. So, but JT's playing is my point. He's over there. And then next week he's planning on playing in the St. Jude. So what's this going to be like for, literally next Thursday, less than a week from now, he'll be teeing off on almost the eastern half of the country. So how is this going to affect him?
I think most of these guys are expecting to play in St. Jude because that is a WGC event, and that's big guaranteed money. Justin Thomas, it's one of the interesting things about him. He usually plays well in those limited field events, no cut, something like this Olympic contest would be. Only 60 players. There's no cut.
By the way, I singled him out. I'm sorry, because he won the event last year.
Yes, correct. That's what I was just about to say. Is that he has won in Memphis before. It's going to be very tough for these guys. Now they'll wrap up on Sunday, and then have to fly to Memphis. And then get ready to then go play a WGC event. I would not put a lot of stock in any of the 4 Americans or even Rory McIlroy. I'm sure he's probably playing next week. Hideki Matsuyama. we talk about the major championships, the WGC events are 1B behind the majors. They are extremely strong fields and extremely rich purses. So those are a big deal to these guys. It's going to be tough. I mean, they're going to have to fight jet lag and this whole Olympic experience, and then getting back to their normal lives, so to speak. So I think that would be a tough transition. I know it'd be a tough transition for me going from Japan to Memphis, and when I'm just going from West Ashley to Hollywood every day, I'm not traveling halfway across the globe, but these guys do this for a living. So as much as I say it would be difficult, one of these guys could come out next week and really torch it and light it on fire. What I will say, look at the Olympic website for golf is actually really good for people who love stats like I do. They are keeping track of everybody's strokes gained. Justin Thomas is struggling off the tee. He's losing 2.5 strokes off the tee. Everywhere else, pretty pedestrian. He's actually putting well for JT, usually very streaky putter. For Xander Schauffele, he's dominating the field with his strokes gained approach. Right now, he is gaining 4.5 shots on the field. Wow. Strokes gained approach. Yeah. Is actually losing shots around the green. Everything else, like I said, very, very pedestrian, but that's interesting to see of how he's climbed to the top of the leaderboard. He's been able to do it with his iron play in close proximity to the hole. Meanwhile, JT is getting in trouble off the tee, can't keep the ball in play or have right angles into the greens. So we're seeing the rest of his game suffer.
Scott Glaze, Stono Ferry, in the only, as far as I'm concerned, in the original Hollywood, South Carolina. Do you ever go eat at the filling station?
I love the filling station.
Everybody loves it. I have. You know what? I've never been there.
They've got, I can't remember what kind of burger they've got there. I mean, all of it's great. They've got great burgers. There's one specific that I just can't remember what it is, but you got to get the fried pickles there too.
Yeah,
excellent.
I've heard that.
They do an excellent job with those.
Maybe I'll go this weekend. Do they talk into your left ear or your right ear? Because I can't hear out of my right ear.
You can put in a special request for a left ear.
I'm going to get one of those things like, the father of the young lady in the movie The Patriot. Remember what they used to use back when you couldn't hear? What? Yeah. StonoFerryGolf.com, still a $39 special?
No, it's actually over.
Oh,
if you missed out on your $39, you've missed out. But greens are healing up nicely. Golf course is lush right now. I mean, talking about Kasumi, or however you say that golf course's name,
Kasumi
Gaseki. Stone Ferry is lush right now. This is green, thick, rough. Greens are healing up nicely and are getting to be firm and fast again. So great time, even though it's scorching hot, great time to come out. And we do have tee times available.
It is hot, but it's going to cool down. Have no fear, folks. And you get to ride in a golf cart. You're not having to walk 18 holes. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. And it's also on the Stono River, so there's a breeze. You'll be fine. It'll all work out. Just don't wear black. And make sure you order a hot dog and a lot to drink. StonoFerryGolf.com is where you can book those tee times. You can also maybe get some lessons with Scott Glaze and just go out there and hang out, watch golf with those guys. You'd be shocked at what you learn. It's a beautiful place, one of the great courses we have, not just in the Low Country, but certainly in the state of South Carolina. I know you mentioned it. It will be warm this weekend, all joking aside, Scotty, so be careful out there. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to catching up with you next week. By the way, next week, college football practice begins, so we'll talk about the Cougars and what type of season they'll be having.
Yeah, I tell you, they've got a really good special teams unit this year.
I've heard that. I've heard a hell of a punter.
Really good around the greens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott.
See you guys
later.
A couple of quick hoops notes. AJ Lawson undrafted in the NBA draft last night. He has signed a deal with the Miami Heat. Amir Sims from Clemson, undrafted as well, has signed with the New York Knicks. Thanks to Scott Glaze, Brendan Gulick, and Raphael Esparza. Pat DeMarco will join us early in the week. We got a lot of football next week, boys and girls. Looking forward to that. Have a wonderful weekend with the Olympics. Tomorrow, 20th anniversary party, the Dog and Duck. Anywhere you go, you'll see Darren. You'd be shocked how many Darrens there are.
There are figurines of me just floating around.
Honestly, have a wonderful time. Congratulations to our friends at the Dog and Duck. What a special weekend. Darren, thank you so much.
Thank you. Get better.
Thanks to everybody else out there who watches and listens to our program. And we'll see you at noon. Football's back on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Can't get to the door.